Here at CF Benchmarks, in the 6 years that we've been providing benchmark pricing and portfolios for the cryptocurrency asset class, by far the most common question we receive from investors of all stripes is, what is a crypto? That question isn't driven by a lack of understanding of blockchain technology. It is more fundamental. Effectively, what investors have often asked us is, what is a cryptocurrency or digital asset? What backs it and gives it value? That question comes from the notion that nothing backs a crypto. In the famous words of Andrew Bailey, Governor of the Bank of England, cryptos, to him, are something that don't have any intrinsic value and only have extrinsic value. Well, here at CF Benchmarks, we beg to differ. And today, I hope to be able to explain to you why I disagree with Governor Bailey and answer that question that we have been asked so many times of what is a crypto and what backs a crypto. A crypto or a digital asset is an asset that is associated with a software protocol that either operates a blockchain network or operates on a blockchain network. The original and still most famous blockchain network in existence is the Bitcoin network. Now, this network has around 1 million active deposit addresses. There are around 4.3 million addresses that hold more than 0.1 Bitcoin, which at today's prices is roughly $3,000. The network processes around 500,000 transactions a day. The Bitcoin network charges fees to users for sending and transferring Bitcoins, so i.e. for each transaction that is executed. These fees are charged in Bitcoin. The network does not accept any other form of payment, not US dollars, euros, RMB, yen, sterling, or indeed any other asset. Now, the Bitcoin network generates around 30 Bitcoins a day in network usage fees, in these transaction fees, which at current prices is just under $1 million. So those Bitcoins operate the Bitcoin network and hence are known as being native to the network. So if the question is what backs Bitcoin, it is the fee-paying usage of the Bitcoin network. Now, Bitcoin isn't the only public blockchain network. There are a number of different networks. Here at CF Benchmarks, we call them settlement networks, as they transfer value and settle transactions. They all charge fees similar to the manner of the Bitcoin network in providing this service, and similarly to Bitcoin, only the native token of the network is accepted as payment. Other blockchain networks that operate in this fashion that you may be aware of are Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. Now, these networks are non-programmable, and so are distinct from another group of settlement networks, most famously Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, Cardano. These are what we term programmable settlement networks because they offer Turing-complete programmability, which in turn means that they support what is commonly known as smart contract functionality. So we have in the public blockchain settlement network space two distinct types of software protocol. One is programmable and one is not programmable. They all have native assets that are the currency of that network and the means of payment for transactions to take place. As we said earlier, not all protocols operate a blockchain network in the manner we have just described. Most protocols operate on a blockchain network. And specifically, they operate on the programmable settlement networks that we spoke of earlier. Most protocols are decentralized applications, or dApps. They provide services to end users. A well-known dApp is Aave. Aave provides borrowing and lending services to its end users. They allow those who deposit assets to earn interest on those assets, and they allow borrowers to borrow those assets and paying an interest rate. So in economic terms, they offer a service not dissimilar to those offered by peer-to-peer lending platforms or banks. Aave does not exist in isolation though. To be able to provide its service to end users, it needs to operate on a blockchain network. In fact, it operates on 2 blockchain networks today. It operates on the Ethereum network and the Solana network. So over and above operating on a blockchain network to provide their services to end users, dApps will often need to call on other software protocols that provide blockchain services so that they can deliver their service to end users in an efficient and complete manner. So a dApp such as Aave has a supporting value chain. It calls upon blockchain services from the likes of Chainlink and the Graph, for Oracle services that bring information from the physical world onto the blockchain network. And Aave also utilizes the Polygon network. Now, the Polygon network is a software protocol that allows for the rolling up of transactions before they reach the settlement network. This means that Aave can scale its transactions and make its operations on the settlement network more efficient. Each of Chainlink, Graph, and Aave protocols have associated tokens. So we begin to see that crypto assets are associated with software protocols. Those software protocols support economic activity. That economic activity takes place on blockchains. These networks, protocols, and their activities are commonly referred to as Web3. So if the question becomes what backs a crypto asset, it is quite simply human economic activity, which is the ultimate source of intrinsic value for any asset. Now, this human economic activity is taking place purely on the blockchain. So it's what we call the blockchain economy. In this blockchain economy, many of the economic sectors and functions that exist are analogous with those that exist in the physical world, and indeed in the online Web 2 digital world as we know it today. However, there are of course some slight differences and nuances. The question for investors is how to navigate this blockchain economy to understand which assets are associated with which software protocols, and what role do these software protocols play in this blockchain economy. To that end, CF Benchmarks has developed the CF Digital Asset Classification Structure, or CFDAX. The purpose of which is to guide investors through the blockchain economy so that they can understand the value drivers and the end user's behaviors that each crypto asset is exposed to. And ultimately, to understand what behaviors will need to be adopted for those assets to have utility and value in this blockchain economy.